Hola, diva. Well, listen, I have been getting these posts where people are talking about voting, and when it happens more than once, I have to, I got to step in. I got to say a little something. And so my question tonight that I'm posting is voting, are you qualified to vote? Are you qualified to vote? All right, we're going to talk about it tonight. And if I have any questions or anything, I would be glad to entertain them. This is going to be probably a short set. This is going to be a short set, but I need to get on this voting so that we can really understand what's really going on with this this whole situation. Because first of all, we're having our emotions played on by the media and others. We don't know the true history. We don't know. We're stuck. Also, we're stuck in this soap opera, and we don't have any clue of what's going on. And I need to point some things out. Now, if you want to continue voting after, we've gone through this, and maybe if you have any questions, hit me up with your questions, because I would love to answer them in this session. If you want to vote, that's fine. But it needs to be stated, to those who are really clueless about history and what's going on, and how you're not helping yourself. Listen, this is a situation we're in this society, and you will not vote your way out of this. You will not vote your way out of this mess. So, like I said, I want to entertain any kind of questions people might have. Please put them in the comment section below. And thank you for joining me, all one of you. It's good. If one person gets this message, fine. If others get it, good. But this is what I need to speak on today. Voting. Are you qualified to vote? Now, there are 3 questions that I ask people, and I ask for them to tell me this. And if you can't answer these questions, then you're not qualified to vote. So the first question is, what is the difference between a Republican form of government and a Democratic form of government? And let's not confuse this with a Republican Party and Democratic Party. It has nothing to do with that. A Republican form of government and a Democratic form of government. What is the difference? What also, the second question, what did the Act of 1871 establish? What did it establish? And the third question is, what is the difference between the United States, all capital letters, and the United States of America? What's the difference? And so the deal is, if you can't answer these questions, you shouldn't be voting. You're not qualified to vote. And if you do know the answers to these questions, you wouldn't be voting. So I know I'm ready to step on some religious toes tonight. I know, because once again, this is Diva. I'm ready to go into the facts, look up the facts. I'm ready to give you some information. Again, don't believe me. I just want you to hear the information and then go look it up for yourself. All right. One of the problems is that our emotions are being played on. Whenever this whole thing about voting comes up, is, oh, well, your ancestors died for your right to vote. That's somebody playing on your emotions right there. Because first of all, again, we need to understand the true history. We keep thinking that the Apollyon is the one that created the Constitution and this voting and this whole society. They didn't. The melanated people created that. As a matter of fact, the original Americans were here. They had a constitution, and it's before the 1600s. And then the British came in, and but the British were melanated people. We're not understanding the true history. So we got to stop allowing our emotions to be played on, and we got to do some research so that we have knowledge. And when we're making these decisions to vote, we can better understand really what are we voting on, and where are we putting our energies, and how detrimental is it that we're putting our energies into something that we don't know what we're voting on. All right. The other thing, we don't know true history. I'm going to go into it a little bit. I won't go deep. I have other videos up that go deeper into the history and where things started, where they came from. But I will take it back to 1777, and we're going to understand what was really going on at the time. Also, I talk about we're stuck in a soap opera. All right, politrickery, because when we're talking about this whole voting thing for this United States, you don't have a clue what you're voting on. If you think that your vote is going to make any kind of difference when it comes to a president, you don't even understand what that president is president of. We're going to go into that. Let me start. Okay. If y'all have any questions, like I said, put them in the inbox so that I can answer them. You know, if you have any other topics that you need me to touch on, please let me know. But let's get on this. First question: between a republic form of government and a democratic form of government. Please take notes. Please take notes, because I am, you know, some people are thinking I'm talking about Republican and Democrat, and they want to, oh, the Democrats are the best because the Democrats are for the people, and the Republicans are the best because the Republicans are about business. I'm gonna get into that. But a republic form of government deals with your God-given rights. One of the things we don't understand in this society, we're calling ourselves citizens. And, you know, I'm a good citizen. You're not understanding what you're calling yourself. And so I'm going to tell you right now. Again, I break down all of these terms and what these terms that we're calling ourselves mean. But a citizen is basically a slave. When you say I'm a citizen, you're saying I'm a dead, fictitious, corporate entity. That's what you're calling yourself when you say I'm a citizen, and you're saying you belong to whatever country or government you pledge to. You're calling yourself their property. All right. So now let's understand this. Under the republic, a republic form of government, when you stand in the republic, you stand under God. When you stand under the republic, you stand under God. And there are certain God-given rights that cannot be taken away from you. They can't be voted away. They can't be repackaged and resold to you. They are your rights given by God. And when you understand what your rights are, then you understand how to not be up under man. So when you're talking about I'm a citizen, you're standing under man's law. Now, what are some of God's laws? They include the right to bear arms. They include the right to travel this planet without government documentation. They include your rights to protect yourself. They include so many different rights. But those are your main ones. They include your right to not enter into a contract. No one can force you into a contract when you understand how to stand under God's law. That is a republic form of government. A republic form of government is going to protect your God-given rights at all times. Now, what is a democratic form of government? A democratic form of, take notes on these so that we can, because I'm going to come back to them, so you can understand what the difference is. All right. Again, republic form of government is going to protect your God-given rights at all times. A democratic form of government is going to, is mob rule. It's based on the masses or the majority. This means that the minor or the fewer in number or the minority have no voice. In a democracy or a democratic form of government, the fewer have no voice. And so it's mob ruled. Also in a democratic form of government, this means that your rights are going to be voted on, which means you don't have rights. What you have are privileges. So the problem with a democratic form of government is that the masses are ignorant. And this is just a fact. You get a group of a mob of people, you're going to have some ignorance there. And so what a government knows how to do is control the masses to move whichever way they want them to move. So also understand this, that all democratic governments end in chaos. All democratic forms of government end in chaos. Do you not see the chaos at this point in time? If you can't, then I don't even know how to help you to see what I'm talking about. But now you have an understanding of the difference between a democratic form of government and a republican form of government. In one, under the republic, you're standing under God. Under a democratic form of government, you're standing under man as a dead, fictitious corporate entity. All right. So understand that. Those are your differences. Now let's talk about what the second question. What did the Act of 1871 establish? What did the Act of 1871 establish? So now, please, again, these are things that you can go and look up for yourself. I don't put this out here just, for you to believe me. I don't want you to believe me at all. That doesn't help me because I'm not looking for followers. What I'm looking for is for people who want to do their own research and learn for themselves and then lead themselves to where they're supposed to be going. All right, Act of 1871, established in 1871. Now, let me take it back because at this time, this was a really, the mid 1800s was a really pivotal time for North America. And the whole, everything going on in the country. I mean, there was many lynchings going on. There was the Spaniards, the French coming in and taking over. There was the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. There was the Reconstruction period when books were being burned, history was being retold, and this is around that time. But one of the things we need to understand about the Act of 1871, at this time, there was the United States of America. United States of America, upper and lowercase, capital U, lowercase united, capital A, lowercase states of, capital A, lowercase America, America. All right, so this was the country that was established in 1777. All right, and this, when I answer this about what did the Act of 1871 establish, it's going to answer part of the last question. So at this time, the United States of America had been established in 1777, but Britain was trying to get their hands on the territory and trying to control all of the states within the territory. And the way that it went about doing that is by creating a fictitious, what do we call it? They created another corporation and they called it the United States, all capital letters, And they founded this in what we know as Washington, D.C. So you have two United States. One was established in 1777. That's the United States of America. All right. And that is the Republic. So when you remember the pledge that we all learned in school, and to the Republic for which it stands. Well, what is the Republic? That was the United States of America. The Republic meant that this was a government that was created to protect your God-given rights. That's what it's talking about. Now, in 1871, the Act of 1871 established a fraudulent United States, which was created by Britain. And what it did was it usurped the authority of the original Republic, United States. When did the United States turn democratic? Well, it didn't turn. What happened was there was a fictitious and fraudulent United States created in Washington, D.C., created by Britain and is still owned by Britain to this day, that usurped or stole the authority from the original United States of America. And the people still do not know to this day that it is owned by Britain and a foreign corporation that has no authority whatsoever over anybody outside of Washington, D.C. So if you go to Washington, D.C., you'll notice that they have their own different laws. And the same with I'm just going to talk about Washington, D.C. right now, but you'll notice they have different type of tax laws within that territory. Because let's understand this again. History, we don't understand it, we don't read. And we're going to start doing that. We're going to start reading. We're going to start learning what the true history is. But in the Constitution, the original Constitution, the organic Constitution, there was information put in there where what we know as Washington, D.C. would be a foreign country. It's a foreign country, a foreign land. What was the purpose of them putting that into the Constitution? The purpose was so that if there were states that had troubles or problems or disagreements between them, they would have a foreign land to take it to resolve those issues. And that's what Washington, D.C. was created for. Well, then you get Britain, who's aware of this, and they take advantage of this particular deal. And so they establish a fraudulent United States, all capital letter, United States, within the territory of Washington, D.C. And now, till this day, that is your United States, all capital letter. It is a corporation and not a government, and it has no jurisdiction or authority over anybody, once again, outside of Washington, D.C. What are you voting on? What are you voting for? All right, I just told you the difference between the all capital letter United States and the upper and lowercase United States of America. United States of America is a republic form of government established in 1777. United States, all capital letters, is a democratic form of government established in Washington, D.C. in 1871 and is owned by Britain to this day. So what we're not understanding, again, when you're voting, you might as well, you don't understand, you're voting for a corporation, for people to be a part. And by the way, let's understand this. The United States of America does not have a president. I mean, I've heard people say, well, yeah, we do have a president. Well, I don't know what United States of America, but the United States of America that's established in 1777, it does not have a president. That all of those offices, the Congress, the Senate, and anybody else holding any kind of governmental office dealing with the United States, they left that office in 1876. By the time 1876 was here, everybody has shifted over to the fraudulent United States. And notice, I'm not saying of America. It's just the United States. It's just a corporation, and it is owned by Britain. So when you're pledging and saying you're a citizen of the United States, which is a dead fictitious entity, you have just said you are a dead fictitious entity and your property that belongs to the United States corporation, which is a foreign fraudulent corporation. You're not understanding who you are and what's really going on. So what are you voting on exactly? You're voting on somebody to sit over a company that is owned by Britain. Are you not understanding this? All of these politics that they throw in your face, they've got people entangled in this soap opera. It is just a soap opera, and you are fighting. And here's the worst thing. Here's the worst thing that again, when we do a little bit of research, then we see. When you do your research, you're going to find that both of these groups, Democratic parties and Republican parties, are all funded by the same person, same people, same corporations funding both of these. And you're not understanding that all of this stuff is put into play to keep you fighting. You might as well spend your time voting on American Idol, because you're not understanding. You're voting for a corporation that, first of all, it's a foreign corporation, and it doesn't have your best interests at heart. So every time you vote, what you're doing is you're telling them, I'm ignorant. I don't have a clue what's going on. Because if you knew this, you would know that a United States corporation doesn't even have authority or jurisdiction over you. But you keep giving them authority and jurisdiction. You keep contracting with them because you don't know the history. You don't understand you're being manipulated. You don't understand that you're caught up in a soap opera. I'm saying just do some research so you can see for yourself. Let me see if I have any questions because I'm about to close this out. Once again, the question is, are you qualified to vote? If you can't answer those questions, which you should be by now, then you're not qualified. And if you can answer those questions and you're still voting, then maybe, you know, you need to rethink what you're doing because you're not helping yourself. If we're talking about governments and developing or finding our way out of this, you don't vote like that. You're not going to vote yourself out of this mess. Only thing what we have to be able to do is, first of all, know what the truth is, know the facts. And then we need to understand what it means to stand under God, what it means to stand in the republic. You cannot be ignorant and free. You know, we want freedom. I don't know. Let me say this, and I'm going to close this out because I see I don't have any questions. But, you know, we got people, you're upset because, oh, the government is doing this to me and the government is doing that. And you're asking them to help you because the government is nothing more. This United States corporation is not a government. It's a corporation, and it is your slave master. So you're asking your slave master to give you the authority to be equal to them. Well, I wouldn't do that if I was a slave master. There's no way I'd give my slaves the ability to be equal to me. I give them, you know, maybe I throw some meat at them and tell them shut the hell up and make them feel better as I tell them to sit down. But I'm not going to give you the opportunity to be equal to me. That doesn't happen. And so we're not understanding what we're asking for. But then we got people who are saying, oh, I want to be free of this. And okay, that's fine. But you cannot be ignorant and free. Those two do not coexist. Ignorance and freedom do not coexist. You have to be willing to do your research. You have to. And there's a lot to this because it's very deep. I only touched on it a little bit. But if you want your freedom, you must be willing to invest time in researching and finding the truth. You got to come out of your religious beliefs that they told you that we, first of all, telling us that we came over here as slaves. We were not slaves. The original slaves were the Albion. Look it up. White slaves in America. Just look it up. There's so much more. I put out videos on that, so feel free to go through my videos. But again, we have to be willing to do the research and put the time and effort into finding the truth and be willing to hear the truth. Debra Laree. If y'all have any questions, please put them in the box. I'm out. Peace.